Good afternoon, everyone. This is FabCon TV, and Zishan and I are here to talk about Cloud Accelerate Factory, accelerating value with Microsoft Fabric. My name is Priya Raju. I'm a director in our global customer success organization, and my colleague Zishan Ali is a cloud solution architect. So we are here to talk to you about Factory. So the first slide here is talking about the why, migration and modernization. Why do we need the factory, right? What are those triggers that make somebody come to the factory? Across a lot of industries, we see common triggers, including, these triggers may resonate with a lot of the organizations, from data center contract renewals to unsupported software, rising capex, and the pressure to do more with less. Customers are rethinking how they run their apps, infrastructure, and databases. At the same time, organizations are also looking to reduce costs, strengthen security, and stay ahead of the ever-evolving threats. How do you automate data classification at scale to protect sensitive information like GDPR, PII, and HIPAA data? How do you pay less to get more and not the other way around? As every company becomes an AI company, the next wave of readiness is already here. How can you get your data estate AI ready? How do you empower your teams to build and innovate with tools like Azure OpenAI, ChatGPT, while attracting top developer talent and accelerating the move to cloud native? Let's now move on to what is the Cloud Accelerate Factory. The Cloud Accelerate Factory itself is a zero-cost assistant from Microsoft. This is to jumpstart your Azure projects, as I said, with zero-cost deployment assistance from experts. You can get factory assistance to deploy over 30 Azure services via joint delivery with a partner, no matter the project size. We accelerate you with industry best practices. This includes complete deployments in weeks, leveraging proven technologies and strategies which are developed over thousands of customer engagements. Help maximize your investments, prioritize your fundings and skilled resources for more advanced components or projects to boost business impact. This is also a new benefit of Azure Accelerate. This was actually covered by Mandana and another colleague of ours, Amin, during Partner Day. I'll now move on to what is within scope of Cloud Accelerate Factory, because that's a very commonly asked question. So we have over 30 different types of offerings. These include migrating infrastructure and databases. We include Windows, Linux, SQL Server, migration of AVD or Azure Virtual Desktop, migrating to Azure VMware solutions. One of our newer offerings is Oracle databases on Azure, modernizing SQL, OSS, and NoSQL database to PaaS, enabling security. SAP RISE is another newer offering. Developing GenAI assistance. We are expanding this to implement different OpenAI use cases and most recently also ADO to GitHub migrations. Modernization of apps. This is really all around replatforming of .NET and Java apps to application service, AKS and ACA. Deploying analytics on Fabric. So this is what Zishan is really going to deep dive into and talk about all our different offerings here. There's also deploy Arc and then resiliency overall. So Cloud Accelerate Factory, as I said, it gives you a lot of hands-on support for refactoring, replatforming workloads across all these different areas of Azure. And it focuses on repeatable technical delivery tasks to help you and your preferred Azure partners scale faster while your team can really focus on advanced workload design. I'm going to move on now to a slide that talks a little bit about the end-to-end process that the factory follows. It really all starts, in a 3 to 6 week delivery cycle. Once you get nominated and approved, and your nomination can be either from your partner or it can be from the account team as well. Our factory team will, assess the environment and then align on prerequisites and then get to work. So all this is in partnership with your Microsoft team or your Azure partner of choice, as I mentioned. So it all starts with requisites, then finalizing scope, and then moving on to project execution, and then finally handing over and validating the solution and handing over either to a customer or a partner. And this is all within a very, very quick time frame of a few weeks. On this next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about the joint delivery model, because one of the best parts about the Cloud Accelerate Factory is the flexibility. Whether we are co-delivering with you, whether it's working with ISD or Microsoft Consulting or an Azure partner, the factory really becomes an additional delivery arm for your project. It's built on joint delivery model where you remain in control and our factory experts assist you where it makes sense, and all this at no additional cost. This Venn diagram is really showing the joint governance model, which is built around the different activities, or we call it a RACI, around customer, partner, ISD, PDOC, and Microsoft. Like what are the different tasks every team needs to take responsibility for. I'm going to move on to the next slide here and talk a little bit more about the different offerings. And this is something which we'll go into more detail with Zishan, but at a high level, Zishan can talk about all the different analytics offerings.
Thank you, Priya. So I will basically discuss all the offerings which we cover under the Fabric, since this is FabCon. So I'll be specifically focusing on our Fabric offering. So we have like multiple factory offerings for Fabric, such as Lakehouse, Warehouse, real-time intelligence, and Power BI. So in the Lakehouse plus Warehouse, you can take your workloads either to the Lakehouse or the data warehouse, whatever is comfortable for you. Or you can do mix and match as well. Like you can use both. For example, if you want to have your bronze layer of your medallion architecture on Lakehouse, that's perfectly fine with us. And you want to have your silver and gold layer on Fabric Data Warehouse, that's fine. So basically, it's your choice, and we will support you in all your choices along with Factory. And what we cover basically is Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse, Fabric Data Warehouse, Lakehouse plus Data Warehouse, Azure Databricks as well, and Unique Catalog also. So in this scope, if we are going with the Lakehouse, we basically use the medallion architecture for the Lakehouse implementations. For data warehouse, we can use the standard staging layer, and then the execution layer and the production layer, we use the standard data warehouse architecture. And if you want to do the mix and match, we can also use medallion there as well. So basically, we have repeatable IP, which we have built with our experts, and they deliver that repeatable IP for all of our factory customers. It's a very mature IP. You get world-class solution out of the box, which will be delivered within your subscription, and the IP will remain with you in this case. In case of Power BI, our offerings are basically SSRS to Power BI, SSAS to Power BI, and one of the major offering is PSK to FSKU. So as you guys know that PSKU to FSKU is retiring, and that's one of the PSKU is retiring. So basically we are migrating all our PSKU workloads to FSKU. And real-time intelligence is basically, if you are coming from the Azure Data Explorer or Synapse Data Explorer, we do offer factory offering for that as well. I'm going to basically detail all those offerings here. So the first one is around the Lakehouse plus data warehouse migration. As I mentioned, that we support the Lakehouse scenario in this case, and this is basically where we will work jointly with the partner and the customer, and we are going to we basically go and agree with the scope, and that scope is basically finalizes before we start the engagement. Because since this is a time box engagement of 6 to 8 weeks, so we need to finalize the scope first, and then we basically our team comes and they deliver on that scope. So this is the model which we usually take. And then once the engagement ends, we'll hand over all the IP to you, and either the customer or partners or IST can take the post-migration activities. So what do we offer? So we cover most of the data sources in terms of Lakehouse migration, which includes on-premise SQL Server to Fabric Lakehouse, Azure SQL databases to Fabric Lakehouse, Synapse Spark to Fabric Lakehouse, and then we also cover Azure SQL, manage instances, PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle, flat files, Hadoop, Fabric shortcuts, Snowflake, and we are continuously increasing the number of data sources which we support in these factory offerings. So customer selects high value use case, and we basically agree on the scope, and then we deliver that high value use case for those customers in the Fabric Lakehouse. So they can see the instant value realization within 6 weeks. They can see that, okay, whatever the use case they're running, either on-prem, they can see that exact same use case running in Fabric. So this is basically what is in the scope. There are some things which are out of scope, such as Azure Data Factory to Fabric pipelines. That is something which we do not cover as part of the factory scope. Migration of SSIS packages are not covered. Migration of ADF to Fabric pipeline is also not covered. Or for Synapse dedicated pool to data warehouse, the ADF pipelines are not covered. So this is something which is out of the factory scope. Then we'll come to basically the Fabric data warehouse migration scope. So in this case, we basically work with the offering is if you are running your workloads on Synapse dedicated pool, we can move those workloads to Fabric data warehouse. If you're running your workloads on SQL Server, on-premise, SQL database, SQL managed instance, we take all of these workloads and we move it to Fabric warehouse. Power BI data marts to Fabric warehouse is also our new offering because Power BI data marts are being retired, as you know, that in October. So we basically do it for free for you. So if you are thinking of, or if you are running Power BI data marts, please feel free to connect with us and we will migrate it to those data marts to Fabric data warehouse for free. So we do a thorough discovery for these kind of use cases. We find out, okay, which tables we have to, which objects we have to migrate, what is the business logic we have to take, and after a thorough discovery, we basically come up with an agreement of the scope, and then we deliver that on factory. This is basically data warehouse is different shift, Synapse dedicated SQL pool, but in this case, if you are coming from Azure SQL instances or on-prem SQL, this is not going to be a lift and shift. In this case, we are going to write code, write logic, which is not lift and shift. So this is, we do all of this. It's not 100% lift and shift for the sources which are on-prem. Some things which are out of scope, again, SSIS packages, the data factory pipelines or Synapse data factory pipelines are not covered in this engagement. So key deliverables are basically Synapse on-premise, SQL migration to Fabric data warehouse, Fabric Lakehouse, and as we've discussed, we have the supported sources. All of these are supported in case of Fabric Lakehouse plus data warehouse migration. So this is a really good offer where you can take your workloads and move them directly to Fabric without any cost. So really good offer for this. Then I'll come to the next offer. That's basically the Power BI offerings. And we cover 3 types of offers: PSKU to FSKU, Power BI dashboard migrations, SQL Server analysis service, Azure analysis service migrations to Power BI. All of this come under the Power BI factory offerings. So what does it contain? So these all offerings, such as SQL Server to Power BI, SQL Server analysis service to Power BI, and then PSKU to FSKU. As you guys know that we have retired the PSKU. So if you are at the end of your licensing period, feel free to engage factory and they will migrate all your PSKU Fabric Power BI capacities to Fabric capacities. In this case, there are 2 types of offerings. Like one is basically cross region and one is within the same region. So we have our IP. Through that IP, we have automated all of this for you. So we have moved as many as 5,000 workspaces to the Fabric capacity from peak capacity. So it's very mature IP, and we have done it for hundreds and hundreds of customers. And feel free to reach out because this is something which we have automated, and you don't have to do any manual effort in this. Then what is in scope is basically for the SSA and AS or Azure Analysis Service. We migrate all the reports, interactive reports from SSR service to Power BI Premium. We publish reports that pass checks as Power BI paginated reports. We migrate AS or AAS models to Power BI semantic models. We migrate the PSKU to FSKU, that's Fabric offering. What is not covered in this is basically automation and business operations, for example, such as .NET, SSIS packages, and Azure Data Factory. That is out of scope for this Power BI offering. This is something which we are not going to cover in this case. Then we have a very new offer that's basically the real-time intelligence. If you are running workloads where you need insights in real time, then I think this is one of the best offers which you can leverage for your workloads. In this case, if you're coming from if you're considering the big data workloads such as telemetry, IoT, cyber, app logs, time series, all of geospatial, all of this is something which we do cover as part of the real-time intelligence. Also, as you know, that Synapse dedicated Synapse Explorer is Synapse Data Explorer is retiring in September. So if you are considering to migrate Synapse Data Explorer workloads, you can leverage this RTI offer as well. Or if you are running the workloads that are on ADX, Azure Data Explorer, you can also leverage this offering. So this is not just migration. Here we also take new use cases. If you are running any use case where you need the real-time intelligence, RTI offering, you can leverage the RTI offering, and through that, we can help you accelerate your use cases, even in the greenfield environments. That is something which Factory is very good at. Then what is in scope? So Splunk can forward to Fabric for analytics, Elasticsearch, Sentinel using continuous export or set up pre-parallel ingestion, that is in scope. Azure Database Watcher is in scope. InfluxDB is in scope. Avera OS is in scope. AWS Kinesis, AWS Time Series, Confluent, Google PubSub, Spark Streaming, Azure Time Series. These are all of the things which are in scope. Now, with this real-time intelligence, we are coming up with a lot of new capabilities, such as real-time dashboards, activators, alarms. You can set up all of this as a part of the real-time intelligence use cases. And through that, you can have an end-to-end RTI pattern, basically, from ingestion at your edge systems to real-time insights, and you can get all the alerts as well if something is wrong with the source systems. You get all of this with the real-time intelligence offering of Factory. Something which is out of scope is basically custom app code conversion. That is out of scope. We do not cover that under the Factory offering. Migrations to alternate solutions outside of Fabric or ADX, that is also not supported. Upstream or advanced transformations are not supported. So anything that comes under this umbrella, we are not going to cover. But the things which we do cover are basically event streams, which we use are event streams, real-time dashboards, event houses, KQL databases, activators. All of this we leverage for your use case. Again, in this case, we will have a scope. We will do a discovery with you, and we will scope the engagement so that we don't have to go back and to do the business discussions within the Factory model. So once that scope has been agreed with the customer, with the partner, we'll deliver on that scope within 6 to 8 weeks on the real-time intelligence. Some of the key deliverables in the real-time intelligence are basically we analyze the requirements, we translate those queries. If you are coming from a SQL source, we translate those queries to KQL, real-time transformations. We also incorporate medallion architecture within this, and we also do the actions and triggers on that. And now that we have the activities such as Outlook and Teams, so you can get notified directly in Outlook and Teams in real time as well. We also do the CDC scenarios, that is basically change in data capture from Azure Postgre, Cosmos DB, MySQL, Azure SQL databases, and Azure VM, Azure Golden Gate via Event House Connector. So all of this is something which we cover as part of the real-time intelligence. And At the end, I will share some of the customer success stories where the customers have leveraged factory and they got really successful in that. So these are some of the customer stories where we have leveraged factory, and you can basically run on this link and see for yourself as well. If you want to make any nomination, you can basically go to aka.ms/factory nomination, and there you can make a nomination. Our team will reach out to you, connect to you, and from there on, we can engage as a part of factory team. You can send your queries as well. If you want to know more, you can go to aka.ms/factory customer deck and see that what you can do with the factory offerings. And that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a great conversation at the Microsoft Fabric Community Conference. Be sure to give this video a like and hit subscribe for more videos coming out of FabCon TV. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to register for the next FabCon, which will be in Atlanta in March 2026. Come join Patrick, myself, and all of the Microsoft folks. You can see a QR code on the screen right now. Scan that and use code FABATL to get $200 off of the registration. Thank you so much for watching. Keep being awesome, and we'll see you in the next video.